I wanted to, first of all, welcome everybody to the class. Thank you so much. This is our first virtual cooking class for the Diversity Coalition of Morris County. And I am the chair of the food committee. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Diversity Day, we usually have the ability to have our event on the green in Morristown, but we weren't able to do that this year. And usually food tasting from the various participants is one of the aspects of Diversity Day. Since we couldn't do that, we are doing virtual cooking classes based on a beautiful multicultural cookbook that our coalition has put together. Today, we actually have a more professional cook that is going to be hosting our class. Her name is Jennifer Kurucz, and she is a plant-based nutrition and fitness coach whose mission is to help women lose weight and feel great by teaching them how to cook simple plant-based meals the whole family will love. She shares her love of plant-based food by teaching cooking classes, one-on-one nutrition coaching, and through her plant-based meal prep service. When she isn't in the kitchen, Jen enjoys time weightlifting at the gym or spending time outside with her dog, Picasso, another dog lover. So I'm gonna let Jen go ahead and introduce the ingredients and the class, and I will let you all either participate or just follow along.
Thank you, Lisa. So I hope that my dog Picasso does not start barking and make noise while I'm trying to cook. Times that I've done classes where I have to use a blender or a food processor is when it's trouble. But today we don't have any of that, so hopefully it won't be an issue. Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Like Lisa said, I'm a plant-based nutrition coach, and I'm also a plant-based chef, homemade chef. Thank you for calling me a professional chef, but this is definitely something that I taught myself, and of course the plant-based part of it has just become a really big passion of mine. I started eating plant-based a few years ago because of my health and never looked back because I feel better, and my body just thanks me every day for doing so. So although this is a plant-based pumpkin pie, vegan pumpkin pie, it's always something that anybody can enjoy. And I think what's important is when we're in Thanksgiving or any holiday, there's so many friends and family that has a lot of different eating preferences and choices, and just being respectful of that is just as important as being respectful of any other kind of choice that people make. So with that said, this is a pumpkin pie that you can make that someone who doesn't eat egg, doesn't eat dairy, can't eat gluten, or chooses not to, can enjoy. So it's going to have tons of flavor. It's going to be really, really easy because it's going to be semi-homemade. So what I mean by that is we are using a store-bought pie crust. And this is one that I found at Wegmans. I've seen it on Amazon. So this is a brand called Midel. And I love this one because, like I said, it is vegan and gluten-free. It's a graham cracker style crust. It's super easy, and this way you don't have to go and spend $20-something on a vegan dessert. You're gonna make it all for a few dollars, all right, guys? So we are gonna start off by grabbing our glass bowl, or any bowl. I like using glass, and I'm using it so you can see the beautiful stuff as we're going through. I also have my recipe, so I love printing out anything that I'm doing at home and putting it in one of these like little glossy papers. This is one of my, chef hacks here, because you're gonna have dirty fingers, and if you're using your recipe, you don't want to be touching your phone, right? So print it out on a piece of paper, put it in one of these little plastic covers, and this way you can have a binder with all your recipes. And what I like to do is, as I'm doing things, if I'm gonna change something from what a standard recipe shows, I just pull it out, write it down, and keep on going, because chances are you're gonna wanna make swaps, or you're going to need to make swaps if you're out of an ingredient. And that's kind of how I manage all that. So as you're building your own little portfolio of things to cook at home, it's just one of my favorite things to manage it all and be organized. So we are going to start off by making our pumpkin filling. So we're only making the filling since we already have the crust. So what we're going to use for the filling, the base, is the pumpkin puree. So with pumpkin puree, you are getting 100% pumpkin. Now on a can, it may say one of two things. So this one is by Libby's. I actually have made this pie a few times now and like the Libby's flavor better. So this one on their can, it says 100% pure pumpkin. This is still puree. Sometimes when you buy a store-bought brand, it'll say puree on it. You just want to make sure you don't buy the one that says pumpkin pie filling or pumpkin solid, because it's going to be much thicker and it's not going to have the right consistency, right? So we're just going to open up this can of the pumpkin puree. And we're using 1.5 15-ounce cans. So I bought the one big can because that's all they had. So naturally I'm going to have some left over. When you have anything left over, don't throw it out, guys. There's so many things you can do with leftover ingredients if you're using canned food or something in a bag that you don't use the entire thing for. So for the pumpkin, my favorite thing to do is give it to my doggie, because pumpkin is really, really good for the digestive system of our pets. You can also put it in your oatmeal. You can put it into pretty much anything. So don't throw out the rest of that pumpkin. Just use it for something later. Okay, so I'm going to start spooning out my pumpkin. And it's going to come to about 2 full cups. So if you want to use a cup to kind of scoop it out, you can do that too. So it's 1.5 cans or about 2 full cups of pumpkin puree, or 100% pure pumpkin. A little bit more I need out of this one. Okay. All right, guys. So pumpkin is in the bowl. The next thing I'm going to add is my vanilla. I buy the vanilla extract that doesn't have alcohol added to it, just because I like it better. But you can really use anything that you have. So we're going to use 1 tablespoon of the vanilla extract. All right. We're going to add some coconut oil. So we're going to need to melt our coconut oil. Now, you can use a vegan butter if you want to. I'm choosing to use coconut oil. I like the flavor for it. I like it in a pie. It's just more natural and less processed than a vegan butter. But you definitely can use vegan butter if you wanted to, if you already had it with you. And of course, if you're not making the pie fully vegan, you also can just use regular butter, right? So I'm going to put my coconut oil into a little jar and just melt it in the refrigerator. Not in the refrigerator, that's not going to melt it. I'm going to put it in the microwave. So I'm just, oh my gosh. Sorry, guys.
Okay, while you pick that up, no problem, no problem. Let's find out what Jane's doing over there in the kitchen. Jane, what kind of butter and stuff are you using? And we're going to give you some time to catch up to the whole melting it idea. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Jane. You. Okay, sorry, Jane. You're on mute. I gotta write a sign.
Sorry about that, guys. I knew that this was gonna. I'm having an issue with my tripod today.
It's okay, Jane.
Of
it's
course.
okay. See this, Jane?
You want me back?
Nothing.
Jane or Jen?
No, Jane.
Jane, okay. Well, I'm just going to say, since I have vegan granddaughters, so I bought organic coconut cooking oil, and it's already liquefied. And so my question is that a bad thing? If it's liquefied, because I know regular coconut is like solid and you have to heat it up and get it liquefied. Is it bad to buy the already liquid stuff? Does it mean that it has some kind of an additive?
So do you have it with you?
Yeah, it's right here.
Show me the bottle. Show me the bottle.
Here. You see it?
Yeah. So what's the ingredients on the back?
Call me if you want help.
The ingredient, oh, wait. Ingredients, organic coconut oil contains coconut.
Perfect. So we always want to go and look at what's on the back of the label. And I say that because companies can use a lot of different marketing gimmicks. So something can say, I mean, I'm just using this as an example because I picked it up. Something can say 100% plant-based or whatever on the front. You always want to look and see what the ingredients are on the back. So that says it's coconut oil. You looked in the ingredients, it has nothing else but coconut. So it's coconut oil, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've actually never seen it liquefied like that for cooking. I've seen it liquefied for body, like using body,
Yeah.
yeah, what do I want to say, for like personal care products. So that's really great. Where'd you find that?
Jim, do you know where we found it? Well, it came online. We
Nice.
bought it online because it got delivered to our door. Here's the story. And it was cold that day and it wasn't liquid. Totally solid, but it was kind of solidy, but it said it would be liquid under room temperature. So
Right.
and sure enough, it's liquidy.
That's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, there's nothing added to it. You checked on the ingredient list. It's coconut oil. So what I'm going to do is just put it into the microwave, but you don't even have to do that now. So perfect. You were able to skip a step.
Okay.
All right. So
I'm going to mute myself now.
Sure,
Awesome.
sure.
Thanks, Jane.
So I'm just going to pop this in the microwave for 30 seconds. And this way it'll get warmed up. Okay. So if you have the solid coconut oil, unlike hers, you'll know that you can use this for a lot of different things. Baking is one of them, but you just do want to liquefy it for this specific food, for this specific item. So in here, I just have the vanilla, and I'm going to soon add in my coconut oil that is melted. Okay, simple. So it melts really, really fast. We're gonna pour that in and set that one off to the side. So let's mix those together now. And we're gonna add in our sweetener. So I did a mixture of maple syrup and brown sugar. If you don't have any brown sugar, you could use all maple syrup. If you don't have maple syrup, you can use all brown sugar. I love maple syrup because it is not refined. So this is as whole of a sweetener as you can get. And so I really, really like using maple syrup in a lot of my foods. I put it in a lot of sauces when I want a little sweetness to a sauce. And so it's just become a staple for me.
Now that's the gallery view. Here, mute us.
There you are.
I know that.
All right, guys. So I did the maple syrup. Now we're going to go in with the brown sugar. I'm going to the bottom of my brown sugar, so we're just going to use it up. And of course, if you like a sweeter pie, you can add more. If you like a less sweet pie, you can add less. This definitely isn't in between. This is not a super, super sweet pie because I try to make my things as tasty, but still not as unhealthy as some others. So even my baking has a slight, heart healthy twist to it. Okay. So I mixed together the pumpkin, the vanilla, the coconut oil, the maple syrup, the brown sugar. Let's add in our plant-based milk. So I happen to find the pumpkin spice silk almond milk. So that's what I'm going to be using. I've made this pie a few times now. I've used all different milks. So really all of them work for you. Again, if you're not making it vegan, you can use regular milk. I'm using a 1/4 cup of this liquid. Okay, so this is like pretty much all of our liquid ingredients that we're still putting in. All right, I'm going to use my whisk now, actually. So I'm just going to whisk these together in the bowl. And what I've noticed is each canned pumpkin brand also has a little bit different consistency, meaning some are a little wetter, some are a little drier. So you may need to eyeball it and see how wet it is when it comes to adding our thickener. What we're going to use for a thickener today is arrowroot powder. That is a gluten-free thickener or starch. So if you're not making this plant-based, gluten-free and using the arrowroot, let's say you're using something else. So someone in advance told me that they were going to be using cornstarch. You can change what type of thickener you're going to use in cooking and baking, but you want to make sure you go and look at the ratio because everything thickens at a different level. So for example, we're using 2.5 tablespoons of arrowroot powder. If you're going to use cornstarch, you want to use half of that because it takes less cornstarch to thicken it just the same. All right. So if you're going to use cornstarch, you're going to use about a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a quarter. All right. So we're going to add in the pumpkin pie spice first, actually. And this is something you can find everywhere. This is a spice you must have in the fall. It's amazing to put in your oatmeal. It's amazing to put into cookies. You can spice up anything with this little container. It's really a good one to have on hand, especially when everyone's doing everything pumpkin. We're going to use 1.5 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. Okay, I'm going to sprinkle it in my bowl. And this is super easy, guys. I mean, even if someone, so I'm not a baker really. I'm a chef, but I'm definitely not a baker. I don't make a lot of sweets. So I like things that are really, really simple. I like things that I don't have to break out that big blender kind of thing, mixer. I don't even own one of those fancy KitchenAid mixers. I'm always cooking much more savory things. So I like being able to make something fresh and homemade that is a sweet, but without the need to have all those gadgets and baking sheets and baking pans and all the different supplies that I actually don't have in my kitchen. Okay, I have a very simple kitchen, and I don't like having as many things in it. So I know bakers have a lot of extra stuff they tend to buy. Okay, so in this, I'm going to turn it so you can see it a little bit. It's still a little wet, right? So you can see that it's still a little wet. This wouldn't hold up in a pie. See how it's still quite liquidy? So that is why the very last step, we are going to add our thickener, okay? So like I said, this is arrowroot powder. This comes usually in the section with all the other flours and starches. If you can't find things in your supermarket, you can always go on Amazon and find a lot of different things on Amazon. So that's really, really good option when you can't find them in the supermarket. Also, don't hesitate to ask someone in the supermarket where ingredients are. It's not worth it to go searching in every aisle and be frustrated. Just ask somebody, hey, do you know where such and such an item is? And almost all times I've had someone be able to find it for me. Especially, I was in Stop and Shop today and I saw the arrowroot powder there. So almost all the supermarkets that I've been to are starting to have many more alternative ingredients to the, traditional ones, which is really great because a lot of us are starting to cook in different ways. Okay, so I'm going to use my tablespoon, 2.5 tablespoons. So I'm using my half tablespoon measuring spoon here. So you're going to see me do much more than just 2 scoops. So that's 3. 4 makes 2 full tablespoons, and I'm going to add 1 more. And I like to level it off. So anytime you're doing anything that has powder, you're going to just use the bag to help level it off so you get as precise of a measuring as you can. All right. Let's move some of this out of the way so you guys can see me better. Okay. We are going to whisk in this arrowroot powder, and you're going to start to see it thicken. And the magic really happens when it bakes. So it's still going to be quite liquidy now, but you're going to see it thicken when it's baking, okay? Are we all doing good here? I see mixing going on. This is beautiful. I love it. It's so much fun to have people cook with you. It's much different than just watching a cooking show. You could get recipes for the shows that you're going to see in advance. So then when the Food Network show comes on, you can actually cook with them. That'd be so cool. The great thing is you can do that with YouTube, and you can do that with chefs on the internet, right? Okay, so we're pretty much done with our filling. Do I have any questions on the filling? Okay, I'm gonna go silence as a no. Super simple, right? I mean, anybody can do this. We have one bowl, we're putting everything into one single bowl. So now we're gonna take our pie crust. You can make your own pie crust if you choose to. There's nothing wrong with that. It would have been too difficult to make together because dough has to be rolled out multiple times. So to do that on a video is quite difficult. So that's what I was thinking, okay, I could either do a pie with a pre-made crust, or we could have done some like pumpkin bars or something where you don't even put it into a crust. That could have been the other option. So, you know, go online, look around. If there's something that catches your eye, you can always try to adapt it for what you want. Okay, so I opened up this beautiful little crust. I'm gonna set aside my whisk. And we are basically, oh, let me clean my little station up a little bit, shall we? Okay, that looks better. I can't cook with messy space. All right, now we're gonna fill our pumpkin pie crust. So if you bought a brand different than this one, it may be a little, you might seem to have a little more filling or a little less if the pie crust is bigger or smaller than this one is, but most are usually about the same size. You can also buy one of those frozen ones. That's another option. You would just bake the crust in advance and then put the filling in and then usually rebake it or finish baking it. Okay, this looks awesome. This filling looks perfect too. Looks a good consistency. You're just gonna smooth it in, smooth it around the crust. Okay, make sure it's close enough to the edge. And we're gonna bake this crust, bake this whole pie at 350 for 55 to 65 minutes. When you start to see the crust kind of separate from the sheet, from the metal tin, is when you know it's done. You're also gonna see it start to brown. The color is going to get darker than what it is now. So this brighter pumpkin color is going to darken, okay? And you'll see that it's gonna start to thicken. You always wanna make sure you let it cool before cutting into it because it's still gonna be quite soft. All right, and if you're going to not eat it within 2 hours, then you definitely wanna put it in the refrigerator. I would cover it, put it in the fridge, and then you have it, it's good for about 3 to 4 days. So this is gonna go into my oven. Let me show everybody the beautiful pie. And by the magic of cooking shows, I already have one all done. So you can see, it actually is going to settle a little bit. So it's gonna settle down into the crust as it bakes. The crust, like I said, separated gently away from the side of the tin. That's how I knew it was done. Then I just put it on this little plate as well. Okay, so 350 for 55 to 65 minutes, and then you're gonna have this beautiful little pie. Any questions, you guys?
Jennifer?
Yes.
It's Susan Nayer. I'm so sorry. The link was wrong and I just joined now. So I'm going to put it all together when I go back down to my kitchen. But what do I do? First of all, when I measure, I'm so sorry to make you repeat it.
No, that's totally fine. We're very good on time, so I have no problem answering questions.
Okay, when I measure the shortening, I measure it and then I melt it?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So, yep. So I had a solid coconut oil. Okay,
yes,
it comes in a
what
container. I scoop it out. I filled it into my tablespoon. I put it in this little glass container, and then I popped it in the microwave to melt it.
Yeah. And then the other question is, I think I had written to you, I couldn't get arrowroot. So how much cornstarch should I use?
Yes. So if you're going to use cornstarch, you don't want to use as much arrowroot powder. You're gonna use half of the amount that's shown for the arrowroot powder. So you're going to use about a tablespoon and a quarter.
Okay, 1 tablespoon plus 1/4. Okay,
yeah.
Great.
I would even start with 1 tablespoon and see how thick it gets, and then add that quarter if you feel like it needs it.
And then my final
I haven't made this yet with cornstarch. That's why I'm saying it like that.
And then my final question is, I bought the large cans of pumpkin. On the instructions, is it a large can or a small can?
Yeah, I realized that. We'll definitely update the recipe. It should be 1.5 15-ounce cans. So if you bought one big one, you're gonna use 3/4 of that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, because that's like 2 small cans of pumpkin.
Okay. So I'll stay on for a few minutes, and then I'm going to go downstairs and make it because I it's all
Awesome.
out there, but I couldn't toggle on my laptop, so I had to go back upstairs to my desktop. But thank
Yes,
you so
and
much.
I'm more than welcome. I don't know, Franz, if you can share my information with her, but I'm more than welcome for her to message me if she has any questions.
I have
Yes,
your
we'll
email.
do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Jen-
I'll make sure for everybody that's online and for everyone that got in late through technical difficulty, we will definitely share Jennifer's information and make it available to the whole committee and all visitors of, the cooking show so the network can grow and we can keep the exchange going on.
Yes.
Jen, I wanted to
Hey,
ask you a
Jane.
question.
Oh, no, Lisa, and then we'll go to Jane.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Can you freeze that?
That's a great question. I'm not a big freezer of fresh foods. I don't know how it would be once you defrosted it. So I actually don't have a good answer for that.
Okay. Would it stay in the refrigerator for a number of days though?
Yeah, I would say 3 to 4 days.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I have a few questions.
Yes.
When I put it in the oven, should I put it directly on the grates or should I put it on a pan, or doesn't it matter?
Since it's already in one of these trays, I put it right onto the grating.
Okay, and I'm doing convection. Should I turn it down, or I guess it depends on my oven, huh?
Yeah, I don't know how, as long as it's 350 degrees, it should cook this. Yeah, the cooking method is different, but the temperature is still the same. So it should still take the same amount of time to bake.
Okay.
Unless you know that yours normally cooks a lot faster. For example, the oven I use at the kitchen that I do my meal prep at, it runs very, very hot. So 350 is not 350. I know if I put it to 350, I can cut my cooking time probably 3/4 of what I would at home. So you kind of need to know your oven a little bit to answer that.
Okay, I just cut back like maybe 10 degrees, like make it 340 instead of 350. But in any event,
Yeah, maybe do that.
how do you know when it's done? Because it's a custard. You don't stick a toothpick in, do you?
No, because it's still going to be a little soft and jiggly when it first comes out. So once it cools to room temperature is when it's going to really get much more solid. And in fact, when you put it in the refrigerator is when you'll see that solidify even more. So I just wait until I see the crust kind of come away from the edge of the pie pan. And sometimes you also see just the darkness, the color of the custard you'll see it starting to darken and it's starting to look much more cooked. You can even start to see some cracks in between, like of the custard actually separating too. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just natural with how it settled into the pan and started cooking. In fact, that's kind of what mine did. I don't know if you can see it, but it has some little lines around, and that's kind of how I knew that it was done. So I did the full 65 on this one.
Okay.
65 minutes.
So then you should cool it on the counter and put it in the refrigerator with some kind of like a aluminum foil on top of it, or?
Yeah, let it come to room temperature before you put it in the refrigerator. You never want to take really hot food and put it in your refrigerator just for food safety. You want this to be able to cool to room temperature and then put it in. And plus, if you put it in super hot, you're going to change the temperature of the whole refrigerator. So you don't ever want to do that either. So that's why we cool to room temperature outside or, in your kitchen, and then you put it in. And I would cover it. A lot of the pie pans come with this, so then you can just flip it over and use this as your cover, right?
Okay. Now, you think it'll be okay for Thanksgiving? Or is that too long?
That's Thursday. It's Sunday. Yeah, I think it would still, because I'm sure it's gonna be all eaten.
Okay.
I would say that it should still be good by Thursday. That's 4 days from now.
All right, and here's my last question. I know I dominated and asked a lot.
No, that's fine. That's what this is about.
But when I do vegan for these granddaughters, a lot of my recipes have eggs. You can't use eggs. So I went online, and I've never done it because I haven't had the courage, but they say you can substitute applesauce for eggs.
So my favorite is actually what you call a flax egg. So egg is just going to help bind, right?
Right.
Now we didn't. So traditionally, some pumpkin pies will even have eggs. The arrowroot powder, because of how it works, this not only thickens, but it also binds things together. So this is kind of like a double whammy with the arrowroot. You can use a flax egg, and what that is flaxseed meal. Okay, not flaxseed and not ground flaxseed. It's ground really, really, really fine. And when you look at it, it almost looks shiny. So it's called flaxseed meal. And you mix it with water, and you put it, you mix I think it's a tablespoon of flaxseed meal with 2 tablespoons of water. You can check the ratio online. You mix it together and you let it sit. And you'll see it kind of becomes jelly, like an egg. It has that like consistency of an egg, and that can be your flax egg. So for every 1 tablespoon of flaxseed meal plus water can equal 1 egg. That's been my favorite vegan egg substitute that I found. You can also use applesauce. There's also like vegan egg substitutes sold in a container. But flaxseed egg has been my favorite. That's what I use in muffins. That's what I use in pancakes. That's what I pretty much use in all my baking that would need an egg.
Wow. That's, you know what? So coincidental. I actually have some flaxseed meal. I don't know why I bought it for something, but I kept it in the refrigerator.
Perfect, because it spoils very quickly. So good. That should stay in the refrigerator. Yes.
Okay. Oh, wow. So 1 tablespoon of that to 2 tablespoons of water.
I think it's 1 to 2. It might be 1 to 1.5. So double check that online.
I will.
But 1 tablespoon of the meal plus the amount of water it needs is equal to 1 egg. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
That's it.
Hey,
Nice
Jen.
class.
Hey, Jen.
Yes.
So just again, since we got a lot of people here, I just want to step in and get
Yeah.
I know I've seen Daniel. Wait, I believe Daniel might be a vegan, but so Daniel, you chime in after Ginger. After Ginger, Ginger had a question. Ginger K, do you want to speak up?
Okay, thank you. I just was hoping that you could go over the canned pumpkin and how to, with the puree versus the solid packed.
Sure.
And
So let me grab mine.
And I also wondered if you could if you had the puree, if you could just use paper towel to blot it or something.
If you can use paper towel to do what with it?
To blot out the excess water.
You shouldn't have to. So the pumpkin is going to be much more, the pumpkin puree does have more water in it than a solid pumpkin or a pumpkin pie filling, right? So we don't want the can to say pumpkin pie filling. We don't want the ingredients to say anything other than 100% pure pumpkin. So we don't want something that already has added sugar or any other kind of added ingredients. There shouldn't be a need to blot or like remove any of the water. We definitely want the liquid. I would say if it seems to be really, really liquidy already, don't use as much of the plant-based milk. Maybe use dial that back a little bit, or add a little bit more of the arrowroot powder just to thicken it more. But I wouldn't try to change what the pumpkin has with paper towel.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Right. You're welcome.
So Daniel, are you a vegan?
Hi, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, yes, I'm a vegan.
Hey Daniel, welcome everybody. This is Daniel.
Hi Daniel.
Nice to meet everyone.
Give us, your spiel on, were you always a vegan, Daniel?
No, I've only been vegan for about 3 or 4 years, just a little bit. And so I grew up being not a picky eater. We're getting feedback. Sorry. Okay, that should be better.
Oh, good stuff.
It's good. Okay. So going vegan was a bit weird for me. It took a while, and I also switched straight from being an omnivore to being a vegan. So like a lot of vegans go like vegetarian first and then vegan. So it was kind of a huge leap for me. And it took a long time before I could like reliably like eat just vegan food. There were a lot of times where I like would have a scoop of ice cream and be eating it and then think like, oh wait, like this isn't vegan. After the fact, just because it was like kind of a habit. But yeah, I love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So do you cook a lot of food at home?
Yeah. And I have like favorites that I like to make. Every Thanksgiving, since I've gone vegan, I make with my mom. I make a squash Wellington.
Nice.
Yeah, and my cousins are mostly vegetarian, so they always have a lot of vegan options too. When we go eat Thanksgiving with them,
when we used to.
Yeah, I mean we're not doing anything for Thanksgiving this year.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Together.
It's together.
In a pod.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Not with
Allegedly.
extended family. Right.
That's awesome. So one of my favorite things to do is find foods that people love, flavors, dishes that they grew up with, and trying to, make it as plant-based as possible. So I myself, I'm not 100% vegan. There's times where I'll still have dairy, egg, sometimes even fish, but all the food done in my kitchen, everything I make in my kitchen is vegan. That's where I find my flexibility. If I go out, I may flex a little bit, but everything I make at home is 100% plant-based. So I love like lasagna was something that was so hard for me to find a really good vegan option of lasagna to satisfy that craving when I have it. But it's fun to do that. And if anybody ever has like a recipe or something that they love, just shoot me an email, because sometimes I have a really good plant-based version of it. And I like to share, whether it's my own creation or something I found on the internet that I just thought was a really, really good option for it. I love sharing. So please don't ever hesitate if you have something else, especially the one who has the 2 vegan granddaughters. Let me know, because I've gone through a lot of different stuff. I know grandmas make the best food, so it's hard to make vegan options of those things that you've made for so many years. But maybe I could help you if it's possible. Okay, guys. Thank you for being in the kitchen with me today. Franz, did you want to say anything else? I think you're muted now.
I just wanted to say one thing, if that's okay.
Sure.
I want to thank everybody that participated today. We really appreciate it. This was our first attempt at a virtual cooking class. I think Jen did a fabulous job. I hope you all enjoyed it. We're going to do our next one on December 6th. I'm going to be hosting, and it's going to be potato latkes, which is potato pancakes. In advance of Hanukkah. And we will do the same thing that we did this time. We'll get the ingredients to you in advance and the link to the Zoom call once you register for the class. But I would love to see some of you, or invite anyone else who you would think is interested in such a class. And then we're going to try to do one of these. We'll try to do one each month if we can, but we'll notify you as to what the future holds. But thank you again for coming, everyone.
Yes, thank you so much. This was really fun.
Thanks
Yes,
for organizing this. This was
everybody.
awesome.
Oh, go ahead. I'm glad you.
Thank you. It was great.
Thanks for organizing this. It was great.
And everybody,
Happy Thanksgiving.
if you want to get in contact with Jennifer, just remember theconfidentchickpea.com. That's theconfidentchickpea.com. All words spelled out. Okay, so reach out to Jennifer. Let's keep this going. Don't forget about the class next week. And as always, Jennifer, you know what I'm gonna do, right?
They can also follow me on Instagram at The Confident Chickpea. I share a lot of different recipes. I have some fun videos that I post, so we can always stay in contact that way too. Go ahead, Franz.
Good job. Take care, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, Franz.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving.
Brought to you by Sound of Success. Success, I'm living it.